Hey everybody, welcome back to Mental Secrets. In this video, there are 15 ways that you can recognize toxic people, so of course it will be interesting for you. 15 ways to recognize toxic people. Toxic people always find a way of worming their way into people's lives and creating drama and anarchy in order to manipulate a social circuit to suit their needs. Often, they will apply a divide and conquer strategy in which they sow the seeds of instability in order to make themselves seem essential to a social group. The actions of toxic people usually stems from an innate insecurity that compels them to drag people around them into their vicious hole of insecurity and instability. Not only can toxic people ruin your life and hinder your progress, but they can put you at risk of dragging you down to their level and turning you into a toxic person as well. Luckily, there are a number of ways to avoid letting toxic people rule your life, employed by clever people who have usually dealt with toxic people in the past. Number 1. They ignore attention seekers. Often toxic people compulsively seek attention at all costs. Even if it's somebody's birthday, toxic people will always find a way of making everything about them. It usually begins with small actions, interrupting people or talking over them, being unnecessarily loud or obnoxious, or acting out. Usually, if they don't get the attention they crave, their actions become more drastic, starting arguments, throwing a tantrum, or acting destructively. Good social cohesion relies on everybody getting their chance to talk, joke, and have fun. A social circle should never revolve around one person. If this is the case, the best course of action is to pay little or no attention to that person, and instead spend more time with the quieter and more reserved members of the group. Number 2. They do not trust or share secrets with gossipers. Toxic people will share deep secrets with people just to seem momentarily interesting, and they will frequently judge or gossip about people behind their backs. If you meet somebody who does this, do not be fooled into thinking that they're gossiping with you because they like you or trust you. They will just as easily betray your trust. Toxic people will often talk behind somebody's back to you in the hopes that they will agree with them. They will then go and tell the other person what you said. This creates friction between two people, leaving the toxic person in the middle holding all the cards. It's a divisive and manipulative method of gaining friends or power in social group. Do not take the bait. Number 3. They spend a lot of time with trustworthy and loyal friends. In contrast to the point made previously, clever people will develop a strong support network of loyal and trustworthy people. They know that they do not have to be everybody's friend, and not everybody is deserving of their friendship. In turn, they reward their friends' loyalty and trust by showing that it works both ways. Clever people know that true friendship and fidelity is one of the rarest and most valuable commodities you will never have in life, and they will not allow this to be corrupted by toxic, negative, and untrustworthy people. Number 4. They avoid manipulative people. Manipulative people will ruin your life. They will callously manipulate your feelings in order to make you act in a certain way to further their goals. Compulsively manipulative people often have few redeemable qualities, so it is worth avoiding them altogether. In order to avoid them, however, you must first recognize the signs of a manipulative person. Do you find yourself constantly feeling strong or unstable emotions when they are around anger, irritation, sadness, or inadequacy? Do you often question why they might have said something? Do you get the suspicion that you're being deceived? If so, it is likely that the person is trying to toy with your emotions and are best avoided. Number 5. They allow liars to trip themselves up. Toxic people will often lie compulsively, not just to others, but to themselves. They will often perform mental gymnastics to convince themselves that their lies are reality. Unfortunately, lies are actually very hard to keep up. Recounting a true event is relatively easy, but keeping track of a bunch made up stories is difficult. Liars end up exposing themselves over time by contradicting themselves with other lies. Number 6. They do not get involved in petty fights and drama. Most people like to keep arguments slowly in the realms of themselves and whoever they're arguing with. Toxic people aren't like that. They love to air their dirty laundry in public, and when an argument breaks out, they want everybody to pick a side. It doesn't matter if you're involved or not. It barely matters if you even know the two people involved. A toxic person will not allow to remain neutral. Often, fights between one or more toxic people can be cataclysmic, and it's the innocent bystanders caught in the crossfire that will suffer the most. There are 6 words that will save you from being sucked into the storm in a teacup, and that comes when toxic people argue. It's nothing to do with me. Number 7. They stand up to bullies. This is perhaps the most important way of handling a toxic person. Standing up to bullying wherever you see it. Most decent people will help the helpless, defend the vulnerable, and assist those who need it. Toxic people prey on anybody they consider to be weak. It could be somebody who's a little shy, socially awkward, or even somebody who lacks physical powers. Toxic people will bully and take advantage of anybody who they think won't stand up to them, which is why it's so important to stand up to toxic people, not just for yourself, but for others around you. Number 8. They ignore insults. Insults come in many forms, but the most cleverly disguised insults are actually disguised as compliments. I'd never have the confidence to wear that. You're so funny. You don't even realize it. You're such a nice person. These are just a few thinly veiled insults that will leave you wondering what they actually mean, which in return leaves you seeking approval, and finally your emotions will get affected. Number 9. They don't indulge self-pitying people. Toxic people will often put on a mask of helplessness in order to trick and manipulate people, or emancipate themselves from responsibility. You'll often hear a toxic person saying that they can't pay you back because they can't find a job, because they haven't got any qualifications, because their teacher mistreated them at a school, and etc. There is always a reason for their failure which is out of their hands, and it is always up to you to sort it out. And if you don't, well, you're just the same as everybody else who's mistreated them throughout the terrible ordeal that is their life. Number 10. They demand straight answers to their questions. Toxic people will often go out of their way to give arbitrary, vague, non-committal, or misleading answers to questions. Just ask anybody who's ever been involved in the criminal justice system. The lengths toxic people will go to avoid giving a satisfactory answer are incredible. This is done not just to withhold information, but also to prevent anybody from telling them they've retracted later. The trick to getting around this is to present them with the only closed questions, that is, a question with a yes or no answer. This will force them to make their intentions clear and prevent them from playing mind games with you or others. Number 11. They don't indulge narcissists. Narcissists love themselves, or perhaps More accurately, they love the idea of themselves. They are often so deluded in their own favor that they genuinely lose touch with reality. Narcissists will often fish for compliments, often by pretending that they don't feel so highly about themselves. They will often take numerous pictures of themselves and constantly seek comments on them. The best way to deal with a narcissist is to simply ignore their insatiable appetite for gratification. You don't have to criticize them to try make them feel bad, but simply ignoring them, you will help to remind them that we are all human and our lives are all equally meaningful. Number 12. They will tell them when they are at fault. Toxic people will do almost anything to absolve themselves from blame. Even if they are clearly at fault, they will justify their actions by bringing up something somebody else has done. Handling toxic people cleverly means telling them they are at fault and refusing to accept their excuses. This can be difficult to do when they are being evasive, but ultimately it will help them to grow. Number 13. They are not own wherewithal false kindness. There is an old African saying, "Be aware of a naked man who offers you a shirt." Effectively, it means that you cannot accept something from somebody who is not in position to give it, namely compliments and gestures of love. Toxic people will often try to win over certain people by showering them with compliments. This is often done because they want something from you or you present some kind of a treat to them. You may notice that they are not nearly so complimentary of others around them. Perhaps they are rude to customers, service staff, or abrasive towards strangers. Do not be fooled into believing that this person genuinely likes you or that they are actually a nice person. They are just trying to get something from you. Number 14. They are in control of their own emotions. Toxic people will try to manipulate people's emotions to engineer a social group to suit their needs. In order to avoid this, clever people make sure that they are aware of the emotions that they are feeling and the root causes of why they are feeling them, in order to ensure that they are the only person in control of them. This is easier said than done. Controlling one's emotions takes years of mental discipline. So, for the majority of us, it is better to avoid situations that may cause us to act irrationally or feel emotionally unstable. For example, an argument or discussion which flares your emotions may be best carried out through written rather than a spoken word. This gives you a chance to properly process what is being said and provide a coherent and controlled reply than rather an emotional outburst. Number 15. They focus on solutions, not problems. Toxic people are often the first to place blame when something goes wrong. They do this to emancipate themselves from having to make any efforts to right their wrong. It's very easy to hate stuff and to blame people, but it's much harder to make it change. Clever people will circumvent the power of a toxic person by looking for a solution to a problem, rather than just focusing on the guilty party. They will help to put something right, whether they had any part in it or not. This shows that they are compassionate, protective, and loyal, and a long enough time scale. This will always beat toxic people. Blaming somebody for a problem shows that you are afraid of confronting it. Helping to resolve a problem shows real friendship. If you enjoy this video, share it with your friends so that we can be motivated to make more videos. Press subscribe and remember to click on the notifications. Be sure to see our other videos in this regard. Thank you for your consideration.